Kings Island on New Year's Eve. Worth it or skip it? On this episode of Tower Topics, we're breaking down what the park actually delivers on December 31st. The atmosphere, the entertainment, the food, the crowds, and of course, what you can realistically get done in a single night. We'll talk about who New Year's Eve at Winterfest is perfect for, who might be better off choosing a different night, and the little tips that can make your visit memorable. So if you're debating whether to ring in the new year under the lights at Kings Island, stay with us, because we're giving you the honest answer. Let's get into it.
I'm Ryan. He's Don. This is Tower Topics. All right, let's kick this off by thanking our Prestige members. I want to give a big shout out to Miss Mandy, 1983, Lil Mac, 21, Brian Hauser, 330T, Aaron Bort, Jacob Fix, Damon Barnes, Dakota Cole, Eric Grau, Dustin Jackson, Songstress Miku, Medic 302, Eastern Coaster, Guys and Girls, Justin Y, Mike Garrett, Galaxy B-Boy, Greggy Rocks, Kayla La, T. Cleveland, and Tim DeWelly. Thank you guys so much for supporting Tower Topics at the highest level. That's the Prestige level. If you want to be involved in Tower Topics, there's a link in the description. Members get early access to the videos, exclusive content, exclusive live streams, and heck, some tiers even get some free stuff. So hit that link in the description if you're interested, starting at just $2.99.
So Ryan, it's here, the end of the 2025 season, and that means New Year's Eve at Kings Island. They listed as an event. You seem to like it a lot. So for someone that has never been to Kings Island on New Year's Eve, why should they go?
Well, I mean, honestly, the best way that I can describe it is that the energy is unmatched. You know, it's one of those things where it feels like everybody in the universe is there that night. And you kind of pity the people that aren't there. Winterfest runs normally until 10 o'clock as it does. And then they kind of get everybody to work their way to International Street, where they have a live DJ dance party, and then cap it off with a huge firework display, including all the lights and everything. They can integrate the tower lights and all that stuff. So it's a really, really cool display. But if anything, it's your last opportunity to visit Winterfest. You got to remember that. But, that time between 10 and 12, man, I couldn't recommend that more to people.
From your experience, is everyone happy that it's, going to be the start of a new year, with 2026, coming up? Or is there like sadness that it's over, from your experience? So what's kind of the mood of the crowd?
I mean, the crowd is very celebratory. I feel like your question is a little bit deeper than what we typically get into with Tower Topics, but it's very celebratory. And honestly, to me, I can only really speak for myself, because I've never really looked around and been like, oh, these people are melancholy and this person's happy and 2026 is going to be this person's best year and this person had their best year in the past. I've never really thought about it that way. But to me, what it represents is a heck of a way to throw a big bash to end the season. You got live music, you got everybody's dancing, everyone's partying, they give out little party hats and stuff. They have other opportunities. I'm going to show this to you. They got, here's our friends, the Detlings. You might know David from the current host of the attractions group. We handed it off to him, and they have different photo opportunities and stuff. So, they had stuff like that just for New Year's, but to me, I think that the party really celebrates the end of a season and, the cold winter's nap for the next 4 months until the park opens again.
Do you feel like it kind of builds up to that, with the park open at, 5 o'clock and then working till 10 o'clock, it kind of builds up to it? Or do you feel like everyone is just, anticipating those final couple of hours?
So in the past, I've typically done the international restaurant thing. I haven't bought a ticket this year, so I don't think it's sold out. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. So my night was always kind of unique compared to the normal visitor. I would say that in my experience, it seems like it's pretty much a normal Winterfest night for the most part until 10 o'clock hits. But there are special activities. For example, they have a special balloon drop for the kids at 9 or 10 o'clock. Check the agenda. That goes over really well for the kids. The parents are a little bothered by the fact that they're popping balloons by the hundreds at a time. But this is a really fun thing to watch. I would have loved this as a kid. They do the balloon drop. It goes off. All the kids are popping them in the air or hitting them in the air and popping them, stepping on them. Some of them take them home with them. But this is like a really kind of unique, special thing that they do. And I'm so glad that they do it.
Yeah, when you look at New Year's Eve at Kings Island, it's always like normally before they brought back Winterfest, there were those last chance kind of a thing, whether it was last chance for Soak City, then you get into the fall, last chance for your favorite ride, same kind of thing here where it's your last chance to see all the Winterfest shows. It's your last chance to ride the Racer, Mystic Timbers, Flight of Fear, the other rides, weather permitting, with that last chance to get some of those seasonal holiday menu items and treats. So it's always one of those things too that you're down to the wire. This is it. So whatever your favorite things to do at Winterfest, great opportunity to go do it one last time before you have to wait another year.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really fun. It's like I would have the worst FOMO if I ever didn't go. By the way, I'm looking at the website. The New Year's Eve dinner party at the International Restaurant is now sold out. It was $130. But I think that it's definitely a unique night. It's got an energy to it that is really kind of unmatched. And it's just I love it. They hand out noisemakers and hats and stuff, and you spend the time with the people that mean the most to you at the place that means the most to you. So it's absolutely incredible.
One of the questions that I have received, multiple times is, what is the attendance like on New Year's Eve? Is it going to be overly crowded, and it's going to be, hour waits for the coasters? And, if I want to watch a show, it's going to be a packed theater. It's going to be, 45-minute lines to get the food. Or is it going to be, a pretty light night, because New Year's Eve, a lot of people have other things that they need to do too. So does that open up that opportunity? So from your experience, what's the crowd like on New Year's Eve?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever tried to ride something on New Year's Eve. What I would probably speculate is that the normal Winterfest night, 5 to 10, is probably slightly less busy than a normal night, but a lot of people come into the park around 10 o'clock, to watch the countdown and the fireworks and stuff. So my experience has mainly been on International Street, and I will tell you, International Street is packed, and I mean that in a good way, because that's where all the energy and the vibe. I mean, you saw the bumper if you're watching on YouTube of all the people on International Street dancing and all that stuff, and
it looked like Times Square.
It's like Times Square, except you don't have to wear a diaper, which is a thing. That is a thing in Times Square for New Year's Eve.
It is.
So put that on my list of things not on my bucket list. But it's just, I keep on going back to the word energy, and I wish there was other people here that, because you haven't been to New Year's Eve yet, but they could back me up that it's just such a special night. And it's just, it really brings out like everything that I love about Kings Island. It's the novelty and excitement and celebration and all the different things that Kings Island is supposed to mean to you really means to you that night. And I'm so glad that, they ushered that in, probably 2019 or so. They didn't do it in 2020 because I didn't do Winterfest. And I'm so glad that it was successful enough that they've brought it back every year.
One of the things that people have noticed, the rides do close down at 10 p.m., but there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Staffing. No, I'm kidding. The rides actually this year, new for 2025/2026, the rides will close at 11 p.m. this year, according to the website. So that's kind of cool. I believe that there is. So the line that we have is, the ride certifications die at December 31st at 11:59:59. I do believe that. I think if they wanted to have the rides open and they could potentially have people in line past midnight, they could arrange that. But they also set this goal of having people on International Street after 10 o'clock. They really start to close the rest of the park and move people in. So I think that, somebody trying to get a midnight ride on Mystic Timbers would kind of be the antithesis of what they're trying to accomplish. And what they do very well,
Now, if they want everybody, they say the rides close at 11.
Mhm.
So are you able to get in line at 10:59, or are they going to cut the line to make sure everyone's out of the queues by 11?
I would bet that you can get in line up to 11 o'clock, because I think they just don't want people. They don't want to be cycling the ride after midnight.
Yeah,
I
but
think
that
that's a big
could
part of
create
it.
that situation. You've got, say, the racer with
Mm.
one train operation on each side.
Mhm.
If the wait time, if the station, as you go through, when you enter the ride there, it is as packed as it was a couple of nights ago. We were doing the meetup there. That's more than an hour wait time.
Sure.
So, what happens? Do you cut it at 10:59, or do you cut it like at 10:20 just to make sure everyone's out of there by 11? How's that going to work? That's a question that I would have.
That's a good question. It has not been an issue with the past with the rides closing at 10, to my understanding. I would guess that, if the park was packed, and all of it's gonna be based on weather. We've been, with the exception of one New Year's Eve that was cold, the rest of them have been oddly warm. So, like, I remember the first year of it, it poured all day, and then it cleared up just in time for, Winterfest and New Year's Eve, and because of that, it was like 60 degrees that day. It was, kind of fun. But, if I imagine if the rides are super long, they'll have to cut the lines, but I feel like they're confident they won't have to if they move the ride times up to 11. I mean, that's not really like them to add more ride time. So obviously there's a reason for that. They feel like they can get away with it.
Now, final operating day of the year for Kings Island. That usually means there potentially could be some good deals available in the gift shops, the Sweet Spot, other places like that where, you can get 20, 30, 40, 50% off some things.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't announced anything, that unless you know something I don't, but I will say, I did buy a bunch of dollar candy that's expiring in March. They have that at the Sweet Spot and the confection place. I don't know if that'll still be there by the time the episode drops, but keep an eye out for things like that in the bulk candy and stuff like that. That's not going to make it through the winter, because you might get some good deals. And plus, like, the 2025 merchandise is usually a pretty good deal. Oh, and they're selling Christmas stuff. Like, it's 70% off last time I checked. It might be even higher closer to the end of the year, because they're really trying to get rid of that stuff.
Oh yeah, and then the Sweet Spot usually has some pretty good deals on that final day because the treats aren't going to hold until the
Mhm.
next year.
Exactly. I lucked out with the candy. I bought a bunch of M&Ms and stuff for my mom and my brother and stuff. And they expire in March, which is no big deal for us because we were gonna eat it within 6 hours, I'm sure. But the park opens in April, so guess what?
Yeah, exactly. So as far as you're concerned, based on your experience, Kings Island on New Year's Eve, the question, is it worth it or skip it? You're saying it's definitely worth it.
I would say that, if you're buying a ticket, then you want to go during the summer, um, because all the rides are open and so on. But if you're a season pass holder and you visit the park regularly, if ever there was a specific day you want to have on the calendar, it's December 31st each year.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of excitement, when you see it posted in the Facebook group, people looking forward to, hanging out on International Street, with their friends. A lot of, the pass holders who, are new this year. They took advantage of the $99 deal or the Prestige at 199. For them, this is going to be a brand new experience. I'm glad that Kings Island is open on New Year's Eve because I do think, once you get past Christmas, and you've got a few days left, you still need to have something out there to get people excited enough to come back and visit again, because it seems to feel a little bit different on those other days, December 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Those days, it's still, Winterfest, but leading up to Christmas, it feels a lot different than post-Christmas. And then you've got New
Oh,
Year's Eve, which kind of brings it back to, that elevated level again.
I'm one of the biggest suckers for, if for Halloween. I love Halloween directions and Halloween candy and Halloween movies and stuff. Come November 1st, I think it's all cheesy and I don't want anything to do with it. You know,
Right.
same with Christmas. Like, oh, I want to have a big inflatable Santa in my yard and mistletoe and candy canes. And then December 26th, it's like, this is gaudy. I don't want to do it. So yeah, I think I definitely fall out of the Christmas spirit quickly. You know, and then to me, a visit to Winterfest between Christmas and New Year's is more like, you know, let's get Mystic Timbers rides in. Let's try to catch Toy Factory from, you know, a visual standpoint, one last time. But New Year's Eve is, you know, completely rejuvenating, and it doesn't really have the same feel. It has a different design language, shall we say, than Winterfest does, because they do a very good job of, you know, switching to like the gold and black colors. They do typically have the walk around characters and stuff, which all join in the dancing celebrations and so on. But they, you know, they're not busting out the Merry Christmas stuff anymore. It's, you know, all of a sudden we're winter characters, you know. So yeah, it's very cool.
What would you recommend to someone who's never been to New Year's Eve at Kings Island in terms of how to plan their night? You know, what should they, from the time they enter the park until everyone gets, you know, kind of shoehorned onto International Street, you know, how should they plan their night so they make the most of their Winterfest night?
That's a good question. I would, for the most part, treat it like any other Winterfest night. You know, you and I have talked about you can't do Winterfest without Tinkers, so put that on your schedule. The tree lighting is a must. That really puts you in the mood. Yeah, those two things are really important. Enjoy the lights and so on. Check the schedule for if they do the balloon drop. I'm talking about it as if they're going to. I haven't seen anything about it, but they've done it every year. I think the balloon drop is 9, 9:30, or 10. Like, it's one of those times. That's in the Fest House typically. And then after that, you know, come 10 o'clock, just set the expectation. You know, I'm going to hang out on International Street. You know, it's a dance party and stuff. It's not about the rides. It's not about the shows. It's just about the celebration. Also, one thing I will recommend is I always end up doing last minute shopping. You know, just like, okay, that coaster model I wanted to buy, I'm going to go ahead and spring for it. One year I bought, you know, about 30 stickers that are still in a bag that I've never used, but no regrets, you know, but, a lot of good opportunities to create these memories that you're just never going to let go of. It's so incredible.
All right. So again, New Year's Eve, Kings Island park closes at midnight. Big celebration. International Street, the place to be from 10 to midnight. So, you know, be sure to check it out if you've never experienced New Year's Eve at Kings Island's Winterfest.
Yeah. Photos, Don.
Photos, yes. We ran a photo contest. We wanted our listeners to submit their favorite Winterfest photos, and the winner, you know, would receive a mystery box of, you know, Kings Island kind of memorabilia, some things like that, an original Tower Topics T-shirt. We had some great submissions. We had a panel kind of take a look at the photos and select the 4 finalists, which are now on our Tower Topics Facebook group. And we need you, our listeners, to vote for who you think has the winning entry. And it's very simple. You just go to the Facebook group, you find the post, and then there's 4 photos. Just hit like on the one that you think should be crowned the winner. There's, you know, again, we had some great photos. It was tough to, you know, find those 4 for the panel that picked those out. But it was exciting for us to see how many entries came in, something that we'll do again next year. And all these photos were from this year's Winterfest. So check it out again, the Kings Island or the Tower Topics Facebook group with the Kings Island Winterfest photos for you to vote on for our inaugural contest winner.
Yeah, some great entries. Some ones I'm pretty excited about. You know, it'd be cool if we could get like the contest winners picture painted by Theme Park Art by Alan. Wouldn't that be full circle?
We'll send it to him and see what he can do with that. You know, I think that would be kind of a fun thing. But we will definitely post that, you know, photo as a standalone in our Facebook group. You know, we'll talk about it on an upcoming episode. The winner will be announced on January 2nd. You have until midnight, December 31st. So while you're in International Street waiting for the ball to drop and all that, just go to your phone, pull up the Facebook group, and then go ahead and vote for the photo you think should be the winner. of the inaugural Tower Topics photo contest.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, I just want to bring this up. We had a meetup a couple days ago, and over 50 people showed up. It was so great meeting with everybody. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I will be at New Year's Eve, and I'll be on International Street. And I get so many people that send me Facebook messages saying like, "I saw you, but you look busy." No, definitely come up and say hi.
Come on up and talk to us.
I'm well, and my thought is everybody in the park's going to be on International Street, so I have a better chance of running into people. But I consider myself pretty approachable, and I love to hear what people have to say, and I love to meet, put a face to these just anonymous numbers that watch our show. So please come say hi. We'd love it.
I was surprised. Well, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but the distance that some traveled to take part in that meetup. It wasn't just the locals from Loveland, Mason, Lebanon. I mean, these, they were coming from all over. We had, people from Detroit, people from Chicago, came in, people from Indianapolis, so, I mean, it wasn't like it was just, the locals that came to this. And we really appreciate you taking the time to kind of hang out with us during our meetup. There'll be more of those as we look toward the 2026 season. We'll have some off-season things that we'll try to do. We'll have a couple of summer things. We're definitely going to do the Winterfest one again. That seemed to go over very, very well. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. What I like, Ryan, about it was the number of members who were introducing themselves to other members. And, by the end of the night, people, new friends that you've met. And what happens when you do these kind of things is when you go to Kings Island, you might run into them at Cedar Point or something, but now that you've met them through a Tower Topics, meetup, you're friends now. So that camaraderie, everything kind of builds. So it's almost like the coaster stock effect a little bit, where it was all about the camaraderie and like-minded people meeting new friends. And it looks like we're accomplishing that with this, because it was, really rewarding for me to just see the interaction and, people that, we're trying to meet new friends and asking where they, were from, what's your favorite ride, how often do you listen to Tower Topics? I heard conversations about, do you watch it on YouTube, or do you, Apple, Google, Spotify, where do you listen to it? And just all the different conversations. It was kind of cool to see.
Yeah. I just really enjoy when we have these meetups. And I just wanted to bring that up because, again, I'll be on International Street. So don't hesitate to come up and say hi, but that's neither here nor there. I'm Ryan. That's Don. Happy New Year, everybody. This is Tower Topics.